Hey guys, before we begin this podcast, let's get a word from our sponsor.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. Also, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer.
Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership.
Also, it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. What is up, boys? Welcome back to the podcast. We got a lot of great stuff for you today. We're going to be starting with some Lil Nas X news. First of all, he made a music video for his new single, Montero, in which he depicts himself having sex with the devil, which is kind of weird. In numerous ways, but that's not even the end of it. Also, a lot of famous Christians, including Ryan Garcia and Swaggy P, also known as Nick Young, tweeted at him saying, criticizing him for this music video, saying that it was disrespectful to Christianity. And of course, Lil Nas X tweeted back in a sarcastic, demeaning kind of way to promote his music video. And that's not even the end of it. He also is now getting sued by Nike for trademark infringement because he made 666 pairs of satanic Nike shoes to promote his song and his music video. So he's done all kinds of crazy stuff. Ambers, what the hell do you make of this, dude?
Dude, the music video is very, very weird. I mean, he's giving the devil a lap dance, and I guess there's two ways to look at it, one from a business perspective and one from a social perspective. But overall, in general, it's just very, very awkward and weird and hard to actually take a side in this particular idea or such opportunity.
Yeah.
I think, the big thing is, I haven't really analyzed the lyrics. I mean, it's not a great song. It's not a terrible song, but just why? I haven't looked into the lyrics, but where the hell in the lyrics does it make sense for him to do a lap dance on the devil? And that's just all I have to make of it. What the hell in the lyrics says, oh, I'm just going to do a lap dance on the devil? That makes sense.
I mean, love him or hate him, this is a genius business plan, right? I mean, this music video has 68 million views.
How long has it been out for?
6 days.
It's yeah.
6 days.
Yeah.
Damn, dude. That is a lot of views within 6 days.
I mean, and he furthers it by beefing with these famous people on Twitter. They're all verified. There are 2 congressmen, a bunch of famous people that he's beefing with on Twitter over the idea that he's being disrespectful to their religion. I mean, even if you think that this is terrible that he's doing this, which for me is a little bit preposterous, this is a genius way to get views and promote his video and do all this stuff.
Well, I think the shoes are a expression of his creativity. And, I mean, this is a far, far, far reach. But, I mean, because I don't actually know why he came up with the idea of, the devil and, Satanism and, I guess, embracing it, sort of. But maybe it's because, some Christians or, some people believe that the LGBTQ, community is, possessed by the devil or something. And since he's, openly gay, that he's, sort of, mocking that ideology. But I mean, he's a creator. Obviously, he's one of the biggest growing pop artists. So I mean, I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with it. I just he's trying to express himself creatively, and so I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I just feel like there's better ways to express your creativity. And once again, it did work. I don't think it's the right way to go about it, but gotta respect it. But some of the stuff he put in here, going to the shoes, he put a drop of human blood in each shoe. I don't even know where he got 666 drops of human blood. That's what's kind of messing with me right now.
Well,
but just
actually, I saw one of the employees at Mischief literally drew blood, and then they pull one drop of each of his blood into each one of the pairs, and then the rest of it's just like dye and water. But on every single shoe, there's at least one drop of human blood.
Ew.
Why?
I mean, so Brish, you think that he did this purposefully, not just not just to express himself, but also to purposefully mock Christianity?
I mean,
Do you think that?
I'm not 100% sure what his intentions were behind it, because I haven't seen anything that he explains his intentions behind the whole Satanism stuff.
Right.
But I mean, that is like from an outside perspective, from a bystander's perspective, something that could have been a reality on like why he wanted to portray himself as like the devil. It was to mock Christianity. So I can't say for sure. I would say that.
Yeah, I don't think it's very far-fetched. I mean, especially since he didn't really act surprised in any of these tweets. Like I from what I've seen, he doesn't really seem like, oh, why are you attacking my song? He was ready. He went into battle on his horse, ready to kill some people. I mean, he was returning with tweets with quotes from his song, firing back at people. I know he tweeted at one governor who was criticizing him. You can't last 10 minutes in bed with your wife. Just like really just like he came ready to beef with people. And I think for me, I think it was purposeful. And I think in a way he's trying to create almost like a gay anthem for people to rally around. And in that sense, I think it's almost suggestive of how far Lil Nas X has come.
Yeah, you definitely got to respect where he's come. And I know you just said that he might use this like an anthem, like an LGBTQ anthem. But once again, like I don't think this is the best way to go about it. I think putting yourself, doing a lap dance on the devil, like imagine you're like a 15-year-old LGBTQ person, and like I just don't think as a parent you'd want your teen leaning on this as an anthem, like someone doing a lap dance on the devil. I just don't think that's the right way to go about it. But then again, I respect him for putting himself out there, like knowing who he is and willing to stand by that.
So you think it's more like he's promoting evil, sort of? Like he's promoting a bad image?
No, I mean, what he's doing is he's mocking, like, I think people consider LGBTQ, like, what he's saying is to be the devil, and I think he's sort of mocking that. But once again, I just don't think that's the best way to go about it. Like, create a positive image for the youth culture.
So it's like he's like promoting the wrong thing. Like he shouldn't be promoting the LGBT community as the devil, but he should be promoting like how they're not the devil.
No, I'm just saying like he's promoting. I'm happy he's promoting it. He's just promoting it the wrong way.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing we haven't talked about at all is the song itself. I mean, we've talked about this video, but I mean, from what we've said about all this devil stuff, none of that is actually mentioned in the song whatsoever. I honestly don't really have an opinion on the song. What do you guys think?
Well, when I first heard the song and first looked at the music video, I've kind of thought that this was the wrong song played on top of the music video. I thought the music video might have been for a different song. Because, I mean, they're nothing alike. And I'm honestly, that's why I think this is the weirdest music video I've ever seen, or the weirdest like promotion for a music video. And it's just overall weird. I don't know why you got to promote the devil, but I mean, the song is I mean, I'm not a big fan, but what about you, Anthony?
I always like Lil Nas. I've never loved him. Like I wouldn't put the song on any of my playlists, but it's a solid song. And like as you said, where does he get this from? Where does he get grinding on the devil from Montero, Call Me By Your Name? Like it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I just think it's not Old Town Road.
It's
not quite. But I think to take away from this, I think Lil Nas X and his promotion team are doing a very, very, very good job of crafting him into something different and changing him and making his music different and making his music videos different and just trying to make him better and better. And in a way, I think all the people that are kind of criticizing him aren't really realizing they're just helping him. And he's not going anywhere just because you think that he did you wrong by grinding his butt on the devil?
Just to further progress the conversation, what do you think about Nike suing Lil Nas X and Mischief?
Well, I agree with it from a business perspective. You don't want the devil represented on your shoes. Like, I think it's different because custom shoes have been around for a long time, and Nike doesn't care. But when it's represented in this manner, I think that they got to act up for sure.
I just don't really know what he was trying to do because, I mean, you can't just take a Nike shoe and just make it into something different and resell it. I mean, if there's a Nike swoosh on there and you're not licensed by Nike to sell their shoes, you can't do it. So
Yeah.
I just don't really get that part of it. Other than maybe it's somehow tied into trying to make the news. But I don't think getting sued is exactly a great way to promote yourself.
Yeah, and also I kind of want to like point out some of the political hypocrisy surrounding the shoe because like obviously cancel culture is a very widespread thing within our generation and society in general, and people are sort of canceling Lil Nas X for the satanic shoe, but there are a lot of like people who are in agreement with them are saying like, if you don't like him, then don't watch his music video, or if you don't like the shoe, then don't buy it. But it's sort of the same stuff that was happening, like flipped when they were like canceling like Mr. Potato Head and the syrup and some of the other products that were out there. So I mean, I just want to like point that out and give light to that. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
So are you saying that the people that are in agreement with Lil Nas X are likely those same people that are canceling other stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's definitely some hypocrisy there. The only thing is, I don't think what Lil Nas X has done is quite to the same level as what like some other people have done. Like I know we talked about David Dobrik last time and how he's getting canceled. This certainly isn't to that level. But as for like Mr. Potato Head, I mean, I think canceling Mr. Potato Head is pretty extreme.
Yeah, because I don't want to really give labels, but it would tend to seem like more. Most of the Democrats were like canceling like Mr. Potato Head, Dr. Seuss, and the Republicans were defending him. And now it seems like it's flipped. The Republicans are going after Lil Nas X, and the Democrats are defending him. But like David Dobrik, I think is a completely different situation because that is a sex allegation. I think like Mr. Potato Head for being like not gender fluid or assuming their gender is really stupid. And I think the political hypocrisy that it's like I don't want to, because it's not all Democrats and it's not all Republicans, but it was majority Democrats and majority Republicans. So I'm going to refer to them as Democrats. But the political like the hypocrisy that the Democrats are showing now is kind of alarming, I would say.
I mean, I don't think there's any real reason to cancel Mr. Potato Head. The thing is, I don't know if Mr. Potato Head exactly got canceled or if they were just urged by people on the left to change it. To make it more gender fluid or whatever. Yeah, I'm just not exactly sure. It's all kind of a blur.
I think going on cancel culture, I think at its core, it's a decent thing. Like, it can be extreme, but, I think canceling a literal potato, I think that's just too far. Like, it shows how bad cancel culture has gotten, and it's just pointless. Like, come on, it's a potato.
Well, like you said, like they were just like discouraging and like the difference between like they weren't necessarily canceling them, but they were like discouraging like watching that stuff. So then, what is cancel culture if it's not discouraging against it?
That's the thing is, for me, sometimes I'm like, how does cancel culture really wield any power? Like, how does cancel culture get a corporation to change their product? Like that seems like they have so much real power, but in reality, I feel like cancel culture's power is actually limited to just like changing like viewership, like trying to get people to not watch David Dobrik, saying don't watch David Dobrik, or don't watch this other channel, and for me, the reason I said that is because if the corporation actually changes their product, it's not going to be the cancel culture people that are actually buying Mr. Potato Head. and to me, that means the corporation is just changing that because they think it's right. It's not actually because people are canceling them and saying, I'm never going to buy this product for my kid, or my kid is never going to have this product. It's just because they decided that they wanted to change it.
But I mean, I guess like you have like a good point, but it's also like we're a generation, and then we're like within the next 10 years we're gonna be the generation having kids.
Mm-hmm.
So our kids will be watching sort of like Toy Story, which is where Mr. Potato Head comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So are they changing it so then when we eventually have kids in the next 5 to 10 years that they are they're changing it so it's acceptable for them to want to show it to their kids, which will increase viewership, I guess? Or is it more of just like them feeling like it's right?
I think it's probably somewhat of a business move. I think that's a really good point, actually. The idea that it's a business move to appeal to us when we are or our generation when we are parents. Yeah, I think it's probably a business move of some sort.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, going back to the Mr. Potato Head, like, getting rid of the Mr. and the Mrs. doesn't really change the product. And if it makes everyone happy, then it's fine. Like,
Right.
you don't want to have your product go down the drain and lose all that money just because you have a Mr. in front, especially when it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah. All right, that makes a lot of sense.
As we get into our next segment, we want to remind you to like, smash that subscribe button, and hammer that notification bell on YouTube at The Inbound Podcast.
Also, don't forget to follow us on all of our socials and on Spotify, and that is found in the description below.
If you have any recommendations for a future podcast, please comment on any of our accounts.
Well, boys, our brackets, I mean, pretty much except for you have Baylor winning it all, but they're pretty much done for.
No.
But I will say,
Nope.
this Final Four is going to be incredible. I am so excited for it.
Baylor's winning it all. I'm calling it.
The
Gonzaga's going to clap UCLA by 30 points, and then Baylor's going to win in an overtime finale. I'm calling it.
This Final Four would be good if Michigan beat UCLA. Isn't it freaking weird that both Michigan and Michigan State lost to UCLA?
Yeah, we both choked.
How, dude? How does that happen?
It's called we don't make easy layups. I mean, at the end, like the last 5 minutes of that game, we had about like 10 or 15 easy layups that should have gone in, and we just missed them. Either too strong off the glass because of our nerves, or just complete garbage shots in general. I mean, on that last play, Eli Brooks is a senior, and he should know how much time is on the clock because he still had like 5 seconds after after Mike Smith shot that ball to not throw up some weird shot and should have made possession and kicked it back out to someone.
Also, why did Mike Smith shoot the ball? That man
Exactly.
literally cannot hit
Exactly.
the blind side
Exactly.
of anything.
Exactly.
Oh, my God.
Exactly.
As a Michigan State fan, bro, I was so fired up to see Michigan lose, bro. All the 8-year-olds on Instagram, shut up real quick. All those Michigan fans.
Dude, we're going to come back next year. We got the #1 recruiting class, and we're going to win the Big Ten next year. So.
All right, but looking at this Final Four this year, I mean, I think it'll be a good one. I think Gonzaga is going to run UCLA. I think UCLA has had a great run, but Gonzaga is a different animal.
Facts.
I think every team UCLA has played like doo-doo. I mean, they're an 11 seed, and like I feel like they've also found their footing in a way. Like they've improved over the course of the season. But at the same time, every team they've played has gotten a symptom of choke syndrome where they just absolutely need the Heimlich maneuver and nobody gives it to them, and they're just terrible. I mean, it just like the last 2 minutes, UCLA just gets fairy dust on them, and they just destroy. They just end up winning out of the grace of God. I think they're gonna get pwned by Gonzaga.
Imagine if Gonzaga loses. That would be the best thing that would ever happen, because then Baylor would run over UCLA because Baylor's winning it all, by the way, and Gonzaga is gonna lose to Baylor in the finals, and it's not even a question.
Bro, listen, Gonzaga is the best college basketball team I have ever watched. That Kentucky team that lost to Wisconsin, that was undefeated going into the Final Four, is close. But, I mean, this Gonzaga team is so connected, so well coached, and they can do everything. And I think they're going to boat race every team they play. I think they're going to smack Baylor.
I'm telling you, they haven't played anybody since Iowa.
Mean anything. They
Yes, it
played
does.
USC. Listen, the whole tournament
Okay,
they've played people
but
and they smacked them.
USC literally choked, like Michigan State, like BYU, and like Adam said, no one gave them the Heimlich. They shot like 30%, and Gonzaga's defense gave them so many open looks, and they just missed every single one of them, and those were all the shots they were hitting in their previous games, especially against Kansas.
It doesn't matter. Nobody in the country can come close to stopping Gonzaga. Have you watched them play? You can't guard them. You go in zone. Drew Timme will sit in the middle and kill you. USC tried to do that.
Dude.
And you try to run man-to-man like USC did when Drew Timme killed them, and they just cut. They cut and cut and cut, and you can't stop them.
Dude.
They're so well connected.
Mike Vital will destroy Timme. I'm telling you.
And
Mike
then
Vital's a
Kisper's gonna go
beast.
crazy.
Mike Vital's a beast, and I'm pretty sure I saw a statistic that every single player on Baylor shoots the 3-pointer over 45%. Over 45%. That's ridiculous.
Well, I'm not saying Baylor's a bad team. I think Gonzaga, if you're constructing a college basketball team and you want it to be perfect, it's Gonzaga. They have a big three. They have Drew Timme, who can pass the ball, can shoot it, can do everything on offense. You have Corey Kispert, who can literally do everything. He's probably their best player. And then you have Jalen Suggs, an uber athletic, elite passer, elite shooter, point guard. And then you have Nemhard coming off the bench, who was a 2-year starter at Florida, transfers to become the sixth man at Gonzaga for some reason, and then leads the team in assists. And then they got shooters.
I'm telling you, Donovan Mitchell, it will go off. Jared Butler will go off. They're gonna shoot the ball like crazy. I mean, I think it'll be close. Like, no, I don't think either team will destroy another team, but I think Baylor is just too good, and will come out over top. I think Baylor is the best team in college basketball, and obviously they've had hard competition throughout the season, and I just don't think Gonzaga has faced that same type of competition, and that's what's going to come to their downfall.
You just can't say Gonzaga isn't a good team because they haven't played anyone.
Okay,
they've played teams.
They're a good team. I think they're the second best team behind Baylor.
You just can't. The only reason you're saying they're the second best team is because they've played nobody. I mean, their non-conference schedule, they played the best of the best, and they ran everybody. The only team they did kill was West Virginia, and that's because Suggs got hurt.
I'm pretty sure what they played. Okay, so they played West Virginia, they played Iowa, and they played Virginia. Virginia underperformed throughout the whole season, and
Good team.
and West Virginia was eh. I mean, they were a good team. They were definitely a good team, but they were eh. And then they played Iowa, who was undoubtedly the best team they've played throughout the whole season. And then they went 25 straight games with playing absolutely nobody. I mean, I'm pretty sure in one of their games, hold on, I'm going to look it up right now. I think it was like Saginaw Valley State. They were down like 25 at a half, and the only reason why they came back is because Saginaw Valley State, or whatever their name is, some irrelevant school out there, doesn't have the stamina to compete with any big time team. So as soon as they play a big time team, I'm telling you, Gonzaga's going to be on the ropes.
No, you're thinking of like that Wichita State team a couple years ago that was a 1 seed. They were undefeated. They truly played nobody. That's what you think they are, and they lost in the second round to Kentucky. I think that's different. They've proven multiple times this year that they can beat, and not only beat them, kill tournament teams.
I mean, they definitely can beat tournament teams, but I don't think they're the same match against Baylor. I don't think they'll match up.
I think, and I also say, I think Baylor might struggle against Houston. If Houston can hit the 3-ball, they have the offensive rebounding to make Baylor.
Bro, what are you on, dude?
Hey,
Houston's trash,
Hey,
dude. The only reason why they beat Oregon State is because they were a bigger team than them, and then they out-rebounded them on the offensive glass. As soon as they play a big team like Baylor, it's over for them. They're gonna get killed.
There's not that big.
They're gonna get killed.
Umbrish is actually right. I watched that game. Houston literally got like every other offensive board, and
it's because they're just that much bigger than the 12th seed Oregon State. They're just bigger. That's the only reason why they won.
They were the best offensive rebounding team in the country last year. They averaged 14 offensive rebounds a game.
Yeah, but they played a small team. Baylor is big, dude. They're a big team. They're a physical team, and they're not gonna give up 14 offensive rebounds like Oregon State did. You're gonna get absolutely destroyed. I'm telling you.
Oregon State starts a 7-3 center.
Okay, and then what about everybody else? I mean,
I'm not saying they're a huge team, but
everybody else, I'm pretty sure it's like under 6'5".
if Houston hit the 3-ball more consistently, which they have proven to do throughout the year, if they weren't cold shooting, they would have beaten Oregon State by 50.
Yeah, they almost choked it down the stretch, but that was just because they just started shooting kind of poorly.
And Oregon State's a sneaky good team. They got red hot down the stretch. Red hot.
True.
I don't see how Houston can actually match up with Baylor.
And I'm not saying
It's not even gonna be close.
I still think Baylor's going to win, but I think that's going to be a really good matchup.
But you guys are picking Gonzaga and Baylor in the finals, yes?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I don't think there's any doubt about it.
You don't think UCLA will pull it out against Gonzaga?
Well, they got no shot.
No
They got no
shot.
shot. But I will say, I have said that about them in every game, maybe except the Abilene Christian game, but even against Michigan State and BYU, they just didn't seem like a team that had a shot to win that. But
Right.
they kept proving me wrong. So I guess they could prove me wrong, but Gonzaga looks like the Harlem Globetrotters. It's so easy for them in offense.
Right.
I think it was against Santa Clara University. I'm pretty sure they were down like 30 at half, and the only reason why is because they just can't keep up.
No, you might be talking about BYU in the tournament, like in the WCC tournament.
It might have been BYU.
Yeah, but I mean, you just can't. Like, I think if they played in the Big Ten, they lose at most one game.
No.
They're that good of a team. I
I
haven't seen a team that connected on offense ever.
I think they would lose once to Illinois, and then they would get upset by another team just out of nowhere.
Yeah, still 2 losses in the Big Ten, which is really good.
Yeah.
And I don't even think they lose 2.
I mean, Michigan only had 2 losses. I have 3 losses, or is it 3 or 4? I think they only had 3 losses going into the tournament. So
Yeah.
I mean, the difference between 2 and 3 losses isn't that big.
I say 1 loss at most. It doesn't even matter. I just think that Gonzaga's on a different level on any team. And of course, Baylor has the tools and has the weapons to beat them. If they shoot the lights out, which they have, I think they can make it close against Gonzaga. I just think Gonzaga, you can't stop them. No matter who you have, you cannot put a defensive scheme together or a defensive personnel together to stop them. They're that connected.
Yeah, I don't see it. And I think Gonzaga will definitely lose to Baylor. And honestly, Gonzaga chokes every time, so I'm pretty confident in that. But even though Baylor I think is a better team, and I think they won't run Gonzaga off the court, but they'll definitely beat. I can firmly say that Baylor will beat Gonzaga in the finals.
I would confidently bet a lot of money on Gonzaga beating Baylor. I'm that confident in them. They're that good.
I don't see it. I don't buy it. All right, I'm gonna get batteries real quick. Dude, what the hell is wrong with you, my guy? What is wrong? My ass is too fat. All right, so after that quick intermission by Mr. Fisher himself, what are you guys' thoughts on the NFL season that's coming up, the changes to it?
Well, obviously the big thing is they're adding a game, 17 regular season games. I think there's 2 sides to this. I think there's the fan side and then there's a player side. So I think starting off with the fan side, I'm obviously ecstatic. Get to watch the Lions get blown out 1 extra time. But what do you guys think about that?
I like the extra game, but it'll be depressing when I watch our Lions get absolutely destroyed by the Packers in the final game because the Lions suck. However, I am very excited about the new coaching staff. So, I mean, maybe we'll make the playoffs. Who knows? Honestly, this whole season's a question mark for the Lions, but I am a fan of the 17-game season that's coming up.
Well, and here's the interesting thing. This 17th game that they've added is going to be against a team that was in the same place of a different conference the previous year. So, for example, the Lions this year will be playing the Broncos for their 17th game because the Broncos placed in the same spot as the Lions last year in their division, which was dead last. So,
Lions suck.
In a way, I think that actually makes it even better for a fan because it will make it more interesting, right? It makes this 17th game, if you suck, it's still going to be cool because you're playing a game that's closer to your caliber.
Yeah.
If you're great, then it's going to be an absolute battle. It's going to be a great game.
Wait, so is it the last, like, the team of the previous season, or is it the team currently?
It's the previous season.
Okay, because I was about to say, if it's like currently the last team, if you're like dead last, like the Lions will probably be, and it's like the dead last of the current team during the current season, that would be sick.
Yeah.
Like just having it be a TBD sort of thing.
Right.
But
That'd be
if
cool.
it's the previous season, I guess that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But like I think the question is like a lot of teams that they know that are making the playoffs will sit their players in that last game. Do you think it's going to be the same thing for this one? So it's like 18 weeks with the bye, obviously, and they sit them the last game.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I definitely will. I think, speaking of the players, I think the NFL screwed this up in a way. I'm obviously excited, and I think they're cutting a week out of preseason, right?
Yes.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
they must have.
Why can't you cut 2 weeks out and add a second bye? That's what I don't get. I think as a player, I would be disappointed because it's just you're beating your body up for the same amount of money one extra time, and I think they should take another week out of preseason because everyone knows preseason is just
No one
completely
cares. No
irrelevant.
one
Doesn't
cares.
matter. So just add an extra bye week.
That makes a lot of sense, and like Pat McAfee actually mentioned on this. It's like an NFL player's career can end within 10 seconds. I mean, we almost saw it with Alex Smith, but luckily he was able to obviously recover from that gruesome injury. But I mean, your whole career could end within a week. So a lot of these players who are getting beat up for 16 straight weeks don't want that extra week because their career could end right then and there. It's never the future isn't known. So I can
Right.
see where a lot of players are coming from, especially like Alvin Kamara was one of the big activists of, or like one of the big players against the 17
Yeah.
week season.
I think because Anthony, you talked about adding another bye. I think part of the reason why they didn't add one though is because they're not trying to really change the structure of the season. They're just trying to basically just add a game, just make it longer. Because I think if you added a bye, you would be changing the structure in a way that would make it weird for teams almost. Because like you see sometimes now, you see teams like make changes in their season when or they make different trends in their season after their bye versus before their bye. For example, sometimes a team will be really bad and then they'll come out after their bye week and they'll have just changed themselves around. So I think they're really trying to avoid changing the structure. But I think if you did add a bye, it would be better for the players, certainly.
Well, I'm actually going to disagree with that because adding a bye doesn't really do much because it's still an additional game where you're going to get tackled by some 300-pound guy, or it's still an extra game where your career could end because like your career probably won't end in a practice week, but it will end in a game. So
Right.
it's still adding another game, even though there's an additional bye. You'll get some like extra rest, but there's still that extra risk. So I don't necessarily see how adding a bye week would help the problem. I think it's either you add the game or you don't add the game is the issue.
That makes a lot of sense. In a practice, at most you're probably going to get some kind of tear or something, or a sprain because you're usually not going full 100%, and because you're not trying to beat up your own teammates. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, Anthony, you are clearly the most outspoken in terms of the players. What do you think about that?
I don't think it's a big deal at all. Like just to make it's an 18-week season right now. Just make it 19 weeks, 17 games and 2 byes. I think that extra bye will go a long way in helping players, and I think that's fair for them.
Well, what help does it provide them? Because like it's just an extra rest week. It's not really like
Yeah, to rest their bodies exactly.
Right, I think it's less taxing, right?
Like-
So it's gonna be because a lot of players already have complained, like for example about Thursday night football. They're like, I hate playing on Thursday night football because you play on it and then, or you play a game and then you only have 3 or 4 days to recover. To play on Thursday night football, and then of course you get a lengthened week after that. But that time in between a normal Sunday or Monday game, and then Thursday night football is very tough on them. So I think, and sometimes being in worse shape because of playing games can lead to injuries, right?
Yeah.
If you're not playing at the highest level, then you're also not playing at the highest level to protect your body.
So it reduces the risk a little bit, but I don't think it's a dramatic change than if it's like adding the game and no bye or adding the game with a bye.
Once again, I disagree. I think that second bye would go a long way in helping players. Like, imagine having a bye week 6 and then week 14 or 15. Like, because I know a lot of teams, they get an early bye, and then it's like 10, 11 straight weeks of playing.
Right.
And that's very taxing on a player, and players obviously don't like that. If you give a second bye, even if you're adding a game, it goes a long way.
Right.
So
for helping this
you're
player.
advocating for adding a bye just no matter what.
No.
Like, even if they add a game or not.
No, I think one bye in 16 games is fine, because it's been like that for a long time. I think if you add a game, though, it's only right you add a second bye.
Add a second bye. That makes a lot of sense.
I think adding another game and taking a preseason game is probably not the way to go about it. Simply because, as we've already said, the preseason game, nobody's trying to get hurt, right? It's not really preventing much. A lot of people, you're throwing a lot of bench players in. You're basically not putting everybody in that is super important for your team.
Well, the preseason is more of a way to scout like new draft picks because you see a lot of people who they picked up in the offseason end up getting cut after preseason because the preseason is basically like a tryout for all the newcomers.
Right. So I think in a way it's not really helping the people who are actually going to be playing in the NFL. If anything, it might, as you said, it might actually be hurting people who are trying to make an NFL team and stay on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also you said it's a tryout, but who says you can't do a 4-game tryout in 2 games? Like, I think everything that's done in the preseason can be condensed in half. I think the vast majority of teams would say all they need, because they already scout these players for months in training camp, and I get that it's a tryout in a sense for them, but 2 games is plenty for that.
Well, you can have a bad game and an off game, and like if you have a bad game your first game and then you have a good game your second game, does that cycle repeat? Do you have a bad game the next game, or do you have a good game the next day? Or you good game the next day and you progressively get better? I think that's why they need to. It can't just be like 2 games, and why they have it at 4 games, and they're only cutting it down to 3 games, is because like if you have a cycle of your bad game, then a good game, then a bad game, and a good game, you're not reliable enough to play on an NFL team. So I think you have to have more than at least 2 games.
Well, the thing I disagree with that is that the preseason, like, I get it's a tryout, but it's more of just proving to the coaches and general managers for what they already know, because they've seen these players for months. And yes, it can see if they have a good game, bad game, good game, bad game pattern, but it's not as much that. I feel like it's just putting stuff together.
So, Anthony, are you saying you wish they cut more preseason games?
Yeah, I was saying I think they should add a bye and take another week off of preseason.
Yeah.
Oh,
So make
okay.
it 2 preseason games.
So just take like more drastic action to balance out the extra regular season game.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But I think in the same way, it also it is kind of a tryout. But you don't think it's quite as important for tryouts as Brish is saying it is.
Well, I think the difference is like I'm looking at a perspective from an NFL player who just got picked up off free agency, who went undrafted free agent, got picked up. This is his time to show that he's worth staying on the team and he's worth making money in the NFL. And I think just like cutting it down 50%, I mean it adds a lot of extra pressure onto them, and I feel like it might be kind of a little bit unfair.
Yeah, but I will say, like, when they go, like, those players, they already are on such a short leash that even if they have a bad game in the 4-game preseason, they're likely to get cut. I think that shortening it doesn't really change that.
So they have to have 4 straight good games.
I think so. Like, if they get burnt badly multiple times in one game, they're not going to stick on a team. They're already at the very end of the depth chart, and I think a lot of these players already wouldn't make the team.
That's true. Yeah, like for coaches, you take a look at some of these guys and you see them, get beat twice. Or like for a cornerback, you see them get beat twice really badly, and it's like, it's all about first impressions almost. Like, even if you have been scouting them, seeing them in a real game just a few times can really give you an impression about who they are. So I think that's a good point, Anthony. Versus Ambridge, I think it's also viable to think that I think it all has to do with different coaching, right? So if a coach is willing to give more chances to a player, then more games might be suitable for a player. So in that way, it's almost all to do with context, right? It depends with what team you're playing on and who the coach is and what they're looking for. And I mean, some coaches would probably like more preseason games, right? Versus some and most players would probably like less. Huh.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting way to think about it. You make a good point. So
yeah.
All right, we want to thank you guys for watching the Inbound podcast this week. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell. It only takes 2 seconds to subscribe, and only 55% of you who watch this video are actually subscribed. So let's come on those extra 45%. We need you. Make sure to follow all of our socials in the description, and we'll catch you next Sunday. Peace out.
I'm a young Spanish nigga from the projects. I'm gon' make it, who gon' stop it? I ain't got nothing to lose, yeah. Fuck all the rules, yeah. I'm on the move, yeah. I'm a young Spanish nigga from the projects. I'm gon' make it, who gon' stop it? I ain't got nothing to lose, yeah. Fuck all the rules, yeah. I'm on the move, yeah. Sick of the rats and roaches, sick of them round bricks, sick of the freezing cold, sick of them hollow tips.